Get a quick update walkthrough on the van. So as you can see, I've done some work since the last video. Didn't get much of the insulation on video, but it's really just me stuffing bats behind the walls here. This is Havelock wool, sheep's wool insulation, hydrophobic, great insulator. So a couple things to note. We've got framing in. So this is 3/4 inch strips of plywood screwed in twice to each cross member using Tech screws. These are self-tapping metal screws all the way around on the walls. So all down here, and that runs ceiling to floor. Also on the ceiling here, so I've got 1/2 inch plywood up here, 3/4 on the walls, 1/2 inch up here with the same kind of screws, metal self-tappers. I ran string to hold up the insulation bats. As you can see, they're all kind of puffing out. Started putting in ceiling boards. Didn't get video of that, I probably should have, so I'm going to video this portion, including drilling a hole for the light that'll go over the galley. Other stuff, we've got wires and circuits run. All of this is functional, so I can test it. Click. All my lights are on switches now with dimmers. The fan is in and trimmed, sucking in all this insulation fuzz. So let's go ahead and get those ceiling boards put on. Here are the remaining ceiling boards that need to go in. Just to give you a look. I wanted a cedar look on the ceiling, but cedar is ridiculously expensive, so I went with tongue and groove 3/4 inch pine. You'll note the color difference after the stain. I mixed up some stain to get as close to a cedar tone as I could. Stain and sealant. So the back side got a clear coat, the top side got a tinted finish, so they're stained and sealed on all sides, ready to go in. And the tongues and grooves allow it to follow the contour of the ceiling. So let's go ahead and get them in there. So I'm working with 12-foot long boards, 139 inch long, by myself, which makes it a little difficult to get the tongues and grooves to seat correctly. So here's what I've worked out. I've got a piece of framing up here, and so I pre-drill and sink this trim head screw first, and then I butt the end really tightly up there and screw this in so it holds the end. Then I can walk along and seat the rest of this tongue and groove with my trusty rubber mallet. And once I've done that, I can go across and screw in at each framing point. Okay, now the new board is in. You can see that it's seated much more tightly all the way down. So now I'm going to come along where these framing members are, and this is very important. I'm going to pre-drill through here, right there where the tongue meets the side of the board. Pre-drill a hole through there, and then run my trim head screws in. Very important to pre-drill, because if you don't, the tongue can split off, and that's no good. And the effect is this screw sinks below the surface right past the tongue and pulls this board tight to this one and tight to the ceiling. And it looks pretty concealed. If you look here, you're not seeing the fasteners, which is pretty cool. Now, if you know what to look for, you kind of peek in between the boards, you can see where the screw heads go in, but on the whole, it's more of a concealed fastener look. The ceiling reveal. Looking awesome. Lights are in and working. Tongue and grooves all the way to either end. Very, very pleased.